good now. All right, Micah, let's start this all over. So, Micah Dank, you are the author of 8 books, and you focus on astrotheology.
Right.
My man, give us a little bit of background, and we have your StreamYard now up and running.
All right, so you got the video up, right?
Yeah, it's all up. It's on the screen right now.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to explain everything through my presentation. So I say, employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall come easily by what others have labored hard for. That's Socrates. And I start all my presentations out by saying that because that's basically what it is. It's I've studied the Bible for 30 years. I've studied the occult and esoteric for 20, and I've studied astrotheology for 10. I've been teaching it for about 2, going on 3. And I'm just going to teach you what I found. It's important to know that the Bible is made up of what's known as the 7 holy sciences. It's metaphysics, astrological, anatomical, alchemical, spiritual, esoteric, and mythology. The Bible is not literal, it is not historical, it is not reality, and it is not even original. Okay, and I'm going to get into all that. This is the zodiac, okay? With Capricorn at the bottom and Cancer on top, this is how a zodiac should look. And we've known about this zodiac for about 17,000 years. It goes back to the Lascaux caves. You're watching these slides change, right?
Yeah, we're in the Lascaux caves right now.
We're in the Lascaux
17
caves.
to 40,000.
Yeah, so 17 to 40,000 years. Here we see an article saying the Lascaux cave paintings are 17,000 years ago. World's oldest cave paintings show human understood complex astronomy 40,000 years. So what the Lascaux caves are these caves in Lascaux, France, where some teenagers went into it, and they went to the back. Okay, and when they went to the back of the caves, they saw things like this. Okay, you see the bulls on the top, the many faces of the lion on the right, and the horse at the bottom. Now the bull, they quickly realized the bull is Taurus, the lion is Leo, the horse is Sagittarius. It's just missing the guy with the bow and the arrow. So what they did was they carbon dated the wall, and it came out to about 17,000 years. Okay, and what they did once they carbon dated it, and to be honest, to be fair, carbon dating is actually accurate up to 50,000 years, carbon-14. Anything beyond that, it's not so accurate. Then you have to use uranium datings and other forms of carbon dating. So they dated this at 17,000 years. Then what they did was they brought an astronomer, an astrologer, when they realized these were 3 signs of the zodiac. And what they did was they rewound the sky back in Lascaux 17,000 years to what the stars looked like. And what they realized, when they printed it out, they superimposed it on the wall, all the constellations lined up. So they've known about this for 17,000 years. Okay? So there's questions in the Bible you can ask. How Jesus was able to heal the blind, how he walked on water, how he turned water into wine, why he had 12 disciples, why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, why he was dead for 3 days, why is his birthday on December 25th. All that is astrology, and I'm going to show that to you. Genesis 1:14 says, let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years. And that's what the zodiac is. I'm going to show you how it's a basic farmer's almanac. Each zodiac sign is called a house, or an era, or an eon, or a sign, or a mansion. There's different words for it in the Bible, but that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the zodiac house. So what you need to understand is the 12 signs. Okay? And I'm going to explain the 12 signs to you. I'm going to tell you what they mean. And I'm going to tell you some keywords that we're going to look for. Then we're going to use those keywords and we're going to decode everything. Okay? It's a simple cipher. So the first sign I talk about is Aquarius, which is represented by the man with the water pitcher. Technically, Aries begins the year, but I start with Aquarius because that's January. That's kind of our new year. So there's words you can hear, like Son of Man, man, baptism, water pitcher, fountain, stream, river, pond, lake, ocean, sea. Water bodies that apply to Aquarius because there's water in the picture. Therefore, there's water in that sign. Pisces is the sign of the 2 fish in the water. So because this is actually water too, but all those previous examples apply here. And there's ways you could figure out what sign they're talking about. Okay? I swear this will start to make sense. Aries is the ram. And in Aries, you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day and a 12-hour night. It's also the Passover, or the passing over of the sun over the equator and back on its way to its height in the summer solstice. Now, in Christianity, the passing over is changed, and it's called the resurrection of God's Son. In Judaism, the Passover is when the angel of death passes over the households, and anyone that doesn't have the lamb or the ram Aries being the ram, the lamb's blood smeared on their door, their firstborn sons get killed. Okay? So there's 3 different meanings for the Passover, but it literally goes back to talking about the sun passes over the equator on March 21st, which is the spring equinox. So whenever you hear ram, lamb, shepherd, or ram's horn, they're talking about Aries. Then Taurus is the bull. And when you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seeds so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra, which I'll get to. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow being the female bull, you're talking about Taurus. Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, they're talking about Gemini. Cancer is the crab, and it's a sideways moving creature. So the crab shuffles from side to side. We don't do that unless we're doing a sports drill, okay? We walk front and back, we walk diagonal, but we don't go side to side, okay? The reason it does that is because just as the sun rises a degree on its axis starting on December 25th, what that means is starting on December 25th, the sun rises on its axis. On December 26th, it'll rise an additional degree. On the 27th, an additional degree. And it keeps rising an additional degree every single day. The days get longer, the nights get shorter, until it hits June 21st. Then for 3 days, just like the crab, it moves to the side. It doesn't rise higher, doesn't rise lower, it stays at the same height. Then on June 25th, it lowers a degree. And then the next day, it lowers another degree. Now the nights are getting longer, the days are getting shorter. Okay? Now, the crab in the ancient Egyptian time was known as a scarab. So whenever you hear crab or beetle, they're talking about Cancer. Then Leo is the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So this one's simple. Whenever you hear a lion, you hear lion, lioness, cub. You're talking about Leo. Then Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. So remember before when we said that we plant in Taurus? Well, the virgins would cultivate the wheat in Virgo in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, grainy things that you harvest, they're talking about Virgo. Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. The Jews always celebrate their new year around the fall equinox. Okay? Libra is also wine season, which is when you plant for the grapes in Taurus, you could press the wine here. Okay, it's also olive oil season. So whenever you hear law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, wine, vineyard, wine press, for example, they're talking about that. Okay, now whenever you're talking about olives or oil or olive oil, they're talking about Libra too. So it's all law-related things, all wine-related things, and all olive and oil-related things. Then Scorpio is the scorpion, and he is the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips. It's why the mafia has the kiss of death. That's where that comes from. And it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. So the sun is judged in Libra, and it's betrayed in Scorpio. Finally, in Sagittarius, this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. This is where the sun dies. Why? Remember how I told you on June 21st, that was the summer solstice, the sun is at its height? Well, on December 21st, the sun is at its lowest. Okay, it cannot rise any lower. The ancients would look out to the horizon in the morning and the sun wouldn't crack the horizon. They would say the sun was dead. And then basically what happens is it walks to the side for 3 days also. Okay, so suddenly God's sun was dead for 3 days. Then on December 25th, or the birth of God's sun, it rises another degree and starts to make its way back up to the top. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, or horseman, or quiver, for example, you're talking about Sagittarius. And then finally you have Capricorn, which is the goat, because he likes to climb the mountain. So if you look at the zodiac wheel on the right here, Capricorn's at the bottom. If you put a little sun there, climbing a degree a day alongside the wheel on its way to its height at the highest point in Cancer, okay, it starts to climb in Capricorn. It's just a metaphor. So those are the 12 signs. I don't expect you to memorize all of them or remember everything and such, but does that kind of make a little bit more sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm not too well versed on the astrological signs, but yeah, you're breaking it down pretty easily.
Okay, good. Now, there's certain words that are given for Jesus. There are certain words given for him in church. He gets names. He gets nicknames. Okay? Now, those nicknames are all astrology based, but nobody in the church knows that. Okay, so remember what I just told you about the signs and the information with that. And Jesus, the idea of Jesus is he's a solar deity. He's the sun god, just like Horus was. Okay, Jesus, the son of God, not the son of God, if that makes any kind of sense. So what are his names? What are Jesus's names? When the sun is in Capricorn, the goat, they call Jesus the scapegoat of Israel. When the sun is in the man sign Aquarius, he's known as the son of man. When the sun is in Pisces, the two fish, he's known as the fisherman of men. And it's also why he fed the masses with two fish. When the sun is in Aries, the ram, he's known as the Lamb of God or the Good Shepherd. Cancer, the scarab, the beetle. St. Augustine called Jesus the good beetle. When the sun is in Leo, he's known as the Lion of Judah. The lady holding the stalk of wheat, Virgo, he's born of a virgin and he's called the bread of life. Libra is the scales of justice, he's known as the just one. And he's betrayed in Scorpio. He dies in Sagittarius on December 21st. It's also why he's worshipped on the Sunday. The Sun Day. Whereas the Jews would worship on the Saturday or the Saturn Day because their religion goes back to Saturnalia worship. Now, there's a couple things I want to bring your attention to this picture of Jesus. You still with me?
I am.
This picture of Jesus, okay? The sun behind his head, the two fingers up like that, the heart and the crown of thorns outside the body, the white and the red, and the face of Jesus. Okay? Now, the white and the red, remember how I told you the Bible is also alchemical?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the white and the red is symbolically alchemical. It's known for the red king and the white queen. In alchemy, that would be mercury and sulfur. Okay? So that's why it's that. Okay? Now, the sun is always behind Jesus because he represents the sun. The sun is always behind him. Find a picture of Jesus where the sun's not behind his head. Now, the two fingers up are an ancient Kemetic peace sign. Okay? The separate sign, the V for victory, the war sign, the John Lennon peace sign, that's a war sign. Okay, the two fingers up together are an ancient Kemetic peace sign, an ancient Egyptian peace sign. So whenever you see Buddha or Jesus or Baphomet or any of these deities or any of these people with their two fingers up like that, they're telling you they're coming in peace. Okay, now the white Jesus picture, his face, is actually a guy named Caesar Borgia, who was the bastard son of Pope Alexander VI. See, what happened was in the 1950s, in the 1500s, okay, Pope Alexander VI ascended to the helm of the Catholic Church. His name was Rodrigo Borgia of the Illuminati Borgia family, one of the 13 families. He had a son named Caesar Borgia. Okay, the printing press came out 80 years before he became Pope. Okay, so they mass-produced his face to be the face of Jesus. Before then, he wasn't. Okay, now the crown of thorns wrapped around the heart on the outside, and the heart is always on the outside, represents the rays of the sun. The heart outside the body represents the toroidal field or the Taurus field. Now look at these random pictures of Jesus that I pulled. I just pulled 4 random ones from the internet. The sun is always behind him or always implied in the picture. The second picture, okay? The second picture, Jesus has the two fingers up, okay? He has sometimes there's a Knights Templar cross in the sun behind his head, okay? But you can see the two fingers up, the heart outside the body, and you see the sun behind him. Okay, even pictures of baby Jesus. Okay, the sun is behind him at all times. You can always see that. The star there is Polaris, the North Star. Okay, and we're going to go back into the meanings of all the animals a little bit later. But this is the electromagnetic field of the heart. This is the toroidal field. This is what it looks like. You at the center, it makes a 6-foot revolution around you. Okay, that's how big your electromagnetic field of the heart is. Okay, some people call it an aura. Some people call it toroidal field. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, that's what it is. Okay, and when they tell you, the elites tell you to stay 6 feet apart, that's why. It's because you can't interact with another person. If someone comes up behind you, you know they're there. You're not a magician. They just broke your toroidal field, and your energy can sense it. This is what it looks like when two interact with one another. They overlap, forming a Vesica Pisces in the middle. Now, this is a picture of Jesus on the left. The guy on the right is Caesar Borgia. You could see where he gets his facial features from. I'm not saying he's an exact replication of it, But I'm saying his face was the basis of it. See, before the Shroud of Turin was discovered in 525 AD, almost all paintings and drawings of Jesus were shown as a beardless young man. All right, so that's just some basic information that we got out of the way. But now I want to start decoding some things with the phrases that I've used. Have you heard of the phrase, pride comes before the fall?
I have.
Can you explain it to your listeners, please?
I'm not much of a follower of the Bible, but I've heard of it.
Okay.
So I can't explain it myself.
It basically means that pride comes before the fall. Basically, people take that to believe that if you become too boastful or too prideful in your life, then you're setting up for a fall.
Yeah.
However, astrotheologically, okay, a group of lions is called a pride. So a group of lions is called a pride. Pride is the lion. Lion is Leo. Leo is in July and August. That comes before the season of the fall. Okay, so that's just an inverted way of understanding that. Not an inverted way, but that's just a way of understanding this. Now, in the book of Micah 5:2, but you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from ancient times. However, in Hebrew, Bethlehem is a combination of two words. Bet means house, and lechem means bread. So it literally means the house of bread. Well, I told you, each zodiac sign is called a house. So who would be the house of bread? It would be Virgo, the lady with the wheat stalk. So when the Savior says he's coming from Bethlehem, they're saying the Savior will come from a virgin. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, next is Deuteronomy. Okay, I'm just jumping around from book to book to show you that you could find these patterns in everything. He gave them honey from the cliffs and olive oil from the rocky ground. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. He gave them lambs and goats. They had the best rams from Bashan and the finest wheat. They drank the best wine made from the juice of red grapes. But Jeshurun became fat and kicked like a bull. So let's go over these. He gave them honey from the cliffs. I didn't mention this before, but in the sign Cancer, the crab, there's a group of stars called the Beehive Cluster. Okay, it's an asterism. It's like the Pleiades. It's a small knit group of stars that form a constellation called the Beehive Cluster. So honey naturally comes from the Beehive Cluster. These are celestial metaphors. The olive oil is in Libra. Okay, he gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. Well, the milk would come from the Milky Way galaxy. And the Milky Way galaxy has been called the Milky Way galaxy as far back as the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Okay, direct translation. Okay, the Milky Way galaxy centers in Sagittarius. So your land from the Beehive Cluster in Cancer to Sagittarius, the Milky Way galaxy, those are 5 signs. That's the land of milk and honey. It's not a place on Earth. It's celestial metaphor. He gave them lambs and goats. The lambs are Aries, and the goat is Capricorn, the goat. They had the best rams, that's Aries, from Bashan, and the finest wheat. Wheat is Virgo. The lady with the wheat stalk. They drank the best wine made from the juice of red grapes. Well, that would be Libra, too. But Jeshurun became fat and kicked like a bull. Well, the bull is Taurus. There are 10 signs in this one passage. Is this easy to follow?
Yeah, I'm following you.
All right. The Mount of Olives. Jesus led his disciples to the Mount of Olives after his last Passover so he could teach them a few more things, pray, then wait for Judas to betray him. While walking to the Mount of Olives, he gave the parable of the true vine. So follow the zodiac with me, okay? Passover takes place in Aries every year. On Nisan 14 in the Jewish calendar, first day. Passover takes place in Aries, so find Aries. It's all the way on the left, okay? Well, right after that, he walks to the Mount of Olives. Well, I mentioned olives were Libra. So where is Libra? It's directly across from Aries, so it forms a pattern there. While in Libra, they're waiting for Judas to betray him. And I told you the betrayer was Scorpio before. Okay, so they go from Aries to Libra across, and they're waiting for the next sign. And while they're in Libra, he gives the parable of the true vine, which has to do with grapes, which goes back to wine, which has to do with Libra. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. The firmament is the dividing line between zodiac signs. Contrary to popular belief, it's not a dome over a flat earth. It's not. That's not what the firmament is. The firmament are the dividing lines between zodiac signs. Some people call them cusps. Some people call them handover dates. But you can see the line that divides one from another. It's a 3-day period where one sign's energy hands over to another. Okay? So the firmament is the dividing line between the zodiac signs. So the two waters I mentioned earlier are Aquarius and Pisces. So Genesis 1:7, and God made the firmament and divided the waters, which were under the firmament, Pisces, from the waters which are above the firmament, Aquarius. And it was so. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Revelation 4:7. The first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. The first living creature was like a lion. That's Leo. The second was like an ox. That's Taurus. The third had a face like a man. That's Aquarius. The fourth was like a flying eagle. So in astrology, the scorpion is the belly-crawling creature. It's the lowest form of life on Earth. Its evolved form, also called the ascendant in astrology, is the eagle, which is the highest flying form of life on Earth. So the eagle becomes Scorpio. So Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. Well, what does a fixed sign mean? A fixed sign means it's just fixed in the season. Okay, it's in the dead of the season. Leo's right in the middle of summer. Taurus is right in the middle of spring. Aquarius is right in the middle of winter, and the eagle or Scorpio is right in the middle of fall. So let's read this again. The first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. So lion, Leo, and the man, Aquarius, are opposing signs. The ox, Taurus, and the eagle, Scorpio, are opposing signs. So when you read this, it makes this pattern in the zodiac. Okay, it makes an X, it makes a cross.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the 4 fixed signs. So that's what they're talking about. It's not going to be a 4-headed monster in the sky that just comes down during Revelation. That's not what it is. They're talking about celestial metaphors. Okay? Ezekiel 10:14. Each of the cherubim had 4 faces. One face was that of a cherub. The second was like a human being. The third, the face of a lion. The fourth was the face of an eagle. So Ezekiel's wheel in the Bible they're talking about is the zodiac. Now what about Revelation 12? A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. There's people thinking there's going to be a pregnant woman in the sky, okay, and a dragon that's going to be attacking her. But it's just a celestial metaphor. I'm going to show you that now. A woman clothed with the sun is the sun clothed in Virgo. It's just a metaphor, okay? If the sun is in Virgo, the moon will be at her feet. So this is another metaphor, but I'll explain it real quick. We have a 24-hour-a-day clock, and there's 12 zodiac signs, so the sun spends 2 hours a day at each sign, okay? If the sun is in Virgo, that's between 4 and 6 p.m. So if the sun is in Virgo, the moon is down because the sun is still out. Whereas if the sun was up, the moon would be down, okay? Now, another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous dragon. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. The constellation Draco is on the left. It's the dragon. That's what it means. Its tail goes from Aries to Sagittarius, which is 4/12 of the signs, or 1/3 of the stars out of the sky. Isn't this a much simpler way of understanding this than thinking there's going to be things in the sky happening?
Yeah.
Revelation 7:4. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel. So there's people, Jehovah's Witnesses, so to speak, other kind of people, who think that there's going to be 144,000 people that are saved that get to go to heaven. That's it. Everybody else goes to hell. There's people that truly believe this. Okay? But that's not what it is at all. Okay? This is ancient wisdom. Okay? They're talking about the chakras in this case, and I'll show you that. There are 7 chakras. The root has 4 petals. The sacral has 6. The solar plexus has 10. The heart has 12. And the throat has 16, which equals 48. The third eye chakra is represented by 96 and only has 2 petals because it is 2 times as powerful as the lower chakras. So 48 times 2 equals 96. The crown chakra is 1,000 times more powerful than your lower 6 chakras. So when you add the lower 6, you get 96 plus 48 is 144. And you times that by 1,000 by your crown, your pineal gland chakra, and you get 144,000. What this passage is actually trying to tell you is not that only 144,000 people are going to go to heaven. It's telling you that when you've activated all your chakras, that's when you get to go see God. Matthew 10:16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. This is a famous line. Well, the sheep is Aries, and the wolf is the constellation Lupus, who borders the Libra line. Okay, look at the pattern it makes in the zodiac. Those are opposing signs. Not only are they making patterns in the zodiac, but they're always talking about the opposing signs or the neighboring signs. Okay, these are all patterns that they're always going to be making. Okay, So I've given examples of astrotheology in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. I've been accused of cherry-picking verses from the Bible to prove a point. So let's take a much longer passage and see if we can decode it as well. This is the book of Job. I'm reading you God's answer to Job. So basically, for people who don't know, Job was a righteous guy. He had land, he had animals, he had family, he had friends, he had livestock, he had everything. He had a house. And Satan goes up to God and says, the only reason he is your faithful servant is because he has everything. If you take stuff away from him, he'll stop, praying to you. He'll curse you. And God takes the bet and tells Satan, you can do whatever you want to him, but you can't take his life. So little by little, the guy starts losing things. He starts losing everything. At one point, he's crying up to heaven. He's asking God to answer him. What I'm going to read you is God's answer. Job 38:32. Can you lead forth the Mazzaroth? The Mazzaroth is literally the zodiac. The Mazzaroth translates to zodiac. So his first thing he says right out the gate is, do you know your zodiac? Mazzaroth over time becomes the Mazalot, which survives in Judaism today as Mazel Tov. Everybody knows how old that word is. And Mazel Tov means good fortune from the stars. So what is the Lord's challenge to Job? He says, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Those are obvious celestial metaphors. Then he says, can you bring forth the constellations in their seasons or lead out the bear with its cubs? Well, the constellations are the zodiac above, and the bear and its cubs are Ursa Major, the Great Bear, and Ursa Minor, part of the Big Dipper. Then he says, who can tip over the water jars of heavens? It's literally a man tipping over the water jars in heaven is Aquarius. Do you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger for the lion like wool? Well, the ravens are the constellation Corvus. The horse is Sagittarius, the man is Aquarius, the wheat is Virgo, and the wool from the sheep are Aries. These are the questions I asked at the beginning, how Jesus was able to heal the blind. Well, in the story, the man comes up to Jesus, Jesus licks his fingers, touches the man's eyes, and he's able to see. But Jesus is the sun, remember? The sun does the same thing too. Right now outside, the sun is out, so I have my sight. But when the sun goes down, I'm blind. I can't see. It's just a metaphor. When the sun comes up and touches my eyes in the morning, I get to see again. Okay? How he walked on water. Okay, have you ever seen a sun set on a lake before? You could see just how Jesus walks on water. Okay? And Jesus' last name is Christ. He's given the name Christ. Well, Christ in Greek is Christos, which means the anointed one. It means oil. Doesn't oil also walk on water? See, it's a double entendre. These are very deep metaphors that they try and that they've put in here that people need to understand. How he turned water into wine. This is actually a process. This isn't actually a parlor trick that Jesus did. So Jesus being the Son, what happens is the reason God is considered a man and Earth is considered a woman, Mother Earth, is because of one thing, God's reign, the sacred fluid. In Hebrew, the word is shemen. We get the word semen from it. So what happens is God's sacred fluid comes down onto Mother Earth, comes on her, and impregnates her. Okay? And then fruits, trees, wild, everything grows when God's reign hits Mother Earth. So what happens now? You have Taurus, when you have to put the plow on the bowl in order to plow everything. You plant. Okay? You plant the grapes, and then it rains and it rains and it rains. April showers bring May flowers. That's Taurus. And then it rains and it rains and it rains. And then in Libra, you pick the grapes and you make the wine. That's how you turn water into wine. Why he had 12 disciples. Each one of his disciples is one of the zodiac signs. Judas being the betrayer, Scorpio. John the Baptist, for instance, would be Aquarius, the man with the water pitcher. Why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, we went over that. Why he was dead for 3 days, we went over that. Why is his birthday on December 25th, we went over that. So I just want to stop and just basically, I know I've thrown a lot at you, but I just wanted to get some feedback and understand what you think about all this.
Yeah, it's very interesting. To be honest with you, I didn't know much about astrotheology, so I started doing some research once we had made an appointment to do a show. And did you by chance get inspired a little bit by Jordan Maxwell?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. He's one of my mentors.
Right.
He's one of my mentors. I knew him pretty good towards the end.
Yeah, he passed away not too long ago. And I did see some other shows that I know you focus a lot on the Bible, but throughout the global history, I mean, as far as astrology is concerned, pretty much many of the global civilizations practiced it. The Mayans in the Americas, as well as other parts of the world. And do you tie that in with your work, or do you just focus on the Bible?
It's mostly just decoding holy texts.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a fascinating aspect. It's not something that I cover too much, but I always love having different topics and going down different rabbit holes, if you will. So it's awesome to have someone like you. You've been breaking it down for what, 10 years now?
About 2.5. I've been studying it for about 10 years, though.
Oh, studying it for 10 and breaking it down for about 2.5 years. Yeah, I mean, what got you down this path to begin with?
I had moved to Boston. I'm from Long Island, New York. I had moved to Boston with an ex I'm no longer with, and we both got new jobs, and we moved to Boston. And I think the iPad had just come out, so she'd be watching TV. I'd be on the iPad going down rabbit holes, and I came across a Jordan Maxwell video randomly, and it just stuck out at me. So I watched it, and then I brought that up to someone who I talk online with. And he was like, have you checked him out? And he sent me a link to Santos Bonocci's work. And it just opened everything up. It just told me that this is what I should be doing. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to explain to people. So I studied it. And then after understanding a lot about this astrology, I was able to start doing my own works and start decoding things. And that's what my book series is basically about. It explains the origins of religion, all of them, where it came from. It basically demystifies the divine. Right.
Yeah, and you also, I know you've talked a little bit about prophecy. How do you connect it to prophecy? What would be some examples?
Oh, well, we'd have to do that in a second. Well, we have to do a second podcast if you want to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to do the second half of this. There's no way I'm going to be able to finish it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, even though I'm not much of a believer, I truly am fascinated with history and just civilizations in general, and how the ancients lived and practiced their faiths. So when you can find all those connections, and through syncretism, a lot of these faiths are interconnected, that way as well. And so,
right.
When one main dominant religion takes over another area, they usually combine, the native beliefs with the new, quote unquote, invasive beliefs, and they end up, springing up that way. Were you someone that always focused on astrology in general, or was that just came about?
It just came about when I started studying these two.
Yeah, it's also fascinating when you look at the Chinese zodiac and the different zodiacs, and sure, there's differences, but it's also interesting how many things in common they all have.
Right.
So when you tie it into what we're currently going through, and the current events, how does this all fit in?
I mean, I would show you in the second half.
Okay.
Because I show you how that's done in pop culture. I show you how it's done in society. We are really ruled by this.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see, the elites, quote unquote, and just because I don't believe it, there's no doubt that these people do, and you see them through their rituals that they perform. The current CERN situation going on, and how they have the god of Shiva out front, and it's freaking mind-blowing, especially for someone like me that's a non-believer to begin with. it's kind of mind blowing to see all that play out.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's what I do, is I teach people this stuff.
So we're coming up on an hour. So guys, I'm sorry about the technical issues. I'm gonna stitch it up together so it looks like a continuous stream. Where can people find you, my man?
You can get me on Twitter at Real Mr. Dank, spell out Mr. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Micah Dank. I've got a YouTube channel, Micah Dank, where I have all my work. I actually just did the Book of Genesis. I just put it up today.
Yeah, I saw that. I did link your YouTube and your Twitter on the description, so it'll be there.
Beautiful.
So if you're listening on podcasts or wherever, it'll be.
Yeah, people reach out to me. Like I'm pretty much an open book. Like I love talking to people. I love discussing this stuff. I go much deeper into the book series, though. The book series, so everybody knows, it's written like 1984 or Animal Farm was. Basically, it's putting truth in fiction. So there's this great story that goes along with it, and then you just learn everything. Yeah,
it's like I said, and I don't know if this got cut off at the very beginning, but I did mention to you that I did read an article where they pretty much did an interview on you and your upbringing and how your first couple of books were kind of a struggle, but you just kept at it, and eventually all that stuff works out. If you just give up on it,
you have to believe yourself. You have to have
exactly
grit. That's what you have to do. You have to believe in yourself. Like I know that the books that I wrote are great. I have an open-ended book deal.
Where can people get your books?
So you can reach out to me on social if you want to get signed copies. But basically, you can get it on Amazon. A lot of people hate Amazon. I get a lot of people that actually reach out to me. And they're like, "I'd rather give you the money than Bezos." And I'm
do you have a website where they can get them at, or what's the best way to get them?
Don't have a website. The best way is to reach out to me on social.
Okay.
Just tell me what you thought of this, and we'll work something out. I do PayPal or Cash App or Venmo.
Yeah, that's the best way. That way you cut out the middleman, and you get the bulk of the proceeds, because I'm sure all Amazon
the copies too. So
yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we'll have to definitely do a part 2, and hopefully we don't have any issues next time around. No, and I thank you for reaching out. Yeah, as soon as you reached out, I noticed that we had quite a few people in common that we network with and socialize. So I was like, hell yeah. And then I did catch a couple of shows that you did. It sounds like you've been with my boy Charlie Robinson a couple of times, and some other people. You were even on a CFR network. That's another good dude that I like.
I've been on a ton of stuff.
Yeah, tons and tons.
I've been on. It's coming up on 200 different podcasts. Not podcasts themselves, but different channels.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I don't know how someone like you can do it all the time. It would drive me nuts, man. That's why I like doing what I do. Is just I mix it up, but you got it down. You got your presentation down, and yeah, we'll definitely have to do a part 2 so we can get into the whole prophecy and how it ties into the current situation.
Sounds good,
my man. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
All right, brother.